It's a new day today, and I have finally got the F100 here in Kentucky in my shop. So I have wasted no time digging into this thing and starting to try to figure out if we can get this thing running and moving on its own power. And then, of course, it needs brakes, and it's obviously going to need a lot. There's a bunch of work to do to something that's been sitting for, last that I know, 20 years. So this is the farthest it's ever been from South Texas its whole life. And so the body is actually in pretty good condition. I kind of detailed that last time. Well, rust-wise, it's in pretty good condition. It's got dings and dents, and it was a ranch truck, so it's got some character. But I'll take you over there and see what I've got started on right now. I'll update you where we are, and then we will continue moving forward. All right. So while everybody was here yesterday, wasted no time getting right to work trying to get this thing to run. So I'll give you an overview of what we've done so far. It is on jack stands, which is why the front's so high up. It's a two-wheel drive truck. You can see that right there. And I have given it an oil change. So we did that first. So it's got fresh oil in it. That's the old stuff. And the leak's all over the ground from where I dropped my screwdriver a bunch. It has some Rotella 1540 in it to help everything out. And then it's going to get another oil change very soon. I'm starting to get everything moving around and cranking over and all this other stuff, but got an oil change first and then spun it over by hand a bunch of rotations. And that was really nice. It wasn't locked up or anything. And then messed with the carburetor a little bit. Everything seemed to be free. Of course, the accelerator pump seems like it's shot. This was sitting in very, very dry climate. I can show you that based on the I think my video cut out there, but it's been in a really dry climate. You can see based on the weather stripping, it just cracks away. You can see how much is sagging down there. And then also, like I said, it's not all rotten out. It's just got some patina scratches and dings and dents, and it's ripped from being way overloaded a few times. But being that it's so dry, none of the gaskets and things in the carburetor are going to be working. We've put a mixture of fuel and ATF down through the carburetor and spun it over a few times, help lubricate the cylinders a little bit. And then we checked the starter. Starter did not work, so then that's what this thing is rigged up here. I have a jumper cable hooked up to ground and then to a bracket that connects to the engine block so that the factory ground wire is pretty corroded, so it wasn't holding current very good. I'm about to have to go through basically all the wires on this truck and replace every single one of them, but that's just the name of the game with something like this. So I've done that temporary ground wire, and that's why that's there. Starter spins over. Check for spark. We have spark. I didn't get to see how strong a spark because I was the one hitting the starter when we did that, but it has some. I cleaned the inside of the terminals that need to be, or the terminal clamps that all need to be changed. Threw on my Durastart dump truck battery that I had sitting here, and we get it to light off and then immediately die. So I checked the voltage at the coil. It was seeming a little finicky. So, and apparently, my dad was here and talking about this. He said every time that this truck broke down, which was a lot since it was beat on, he said every time it broke down and they towed it into town, the mechanic would put a new coil on it and it would run for a while. I happened to just have one laying around because I did an HEI ignition swap on our J10. So I jumpered that on there. It seemed to be helping a little bit, but did not solve the problem. So I think today I'm going to change it back to the Ford coil and just kind of keep diagnosing. The next steps that I'm going to take is I'm going to check all my grounds and make sure that everything's okay. I got to chase this wire down to the starter and make sure it doesn't have any cracks in it or anything. And then, yeah, we'll try to spin it over and light it off some more. I had the battery charging overnight because we went through quite a lot of it. I've got my battery jump starter over there that has some pretty good capacity. The Gulu jump starter is super good if your car is flat dead and you know it'll start. because it'll do a few dead cranks, but it goes through the power on that thing a lot. That one over there, you can jump start like 80 things off of it as long as it has some charge. So I normally throw that on with the battery here just to help keep the battery alive a little bit better. So we'll see if we can get this thing to light off today. I have a carb rebuild kit that I am picking up later today. I'm just waiting for them to be done processing the order in town because they had to order it in from a different store. But once I do that, I'll rebuild the carburetor, and then we can get all of our Venturis and everything cleaned out. So I'm sure there's dirt in them, and get the bowl filled with more fresh fuel and actually get stuff to be working like it's supposed to. So hopefully that'll help it run a little bit, because me trying to just pour fuel down the intake is not quite doing it. So let's get to work. All right, so with the help of my lovely assistant over there, we figured out what's going on with this thing. So I rebuilt the carburetor, or put new gaskets in and everything, and it still did the same thing, just start and kill. But we figured out, so I have this disconnected right now, but if I put a vice grip on this and hang it over where it holds it on the start position, and then I need to put some more fuel in it because I used probably a good amount of it just now. Let's put some fuel back in the bowl. That'll be good enough for now. And then I wired up a little switch just with some jumpers in line with the starter solenoid. So if that still has a good connection. It fires up and it doesn't hang the starter because I have the starter disconnected. Probably. See if I can bump the throttle. Yeah, it's out of gas in there. But yeah, now it kind of runs. So I got to get a new ignition switch for it, which that's fine. And then this should be turnkey, ready to go. It's another day working on the F100. And after getting it running yesterday, it left me a pleasant little surprise. Can't tell if you can see that, but that is coolant. So there is actually some coolant in this thing somewhere, which is neat. It looks like it's coming from the radiator hose connector, which I am not surprised. These hoses have to be so brittle and rotten. But I didn't think there'd be anything in there, so that's cool to see. But instead of messing with a lot of this today and trying to get it running some more and all of that, I am going to focus today on getting this thing cleaned up. It's got a lot of potential in it to come out actually pretty decent with the dirt and dust cleaned off of it. Now, obviously, it's not going to be perfect. Cleaning isn't going to fix this area right here, but I'm thinking I might pull the seat out of the truck and really get a nice deep clean out of this thing. And this rubber floor mat is probably just going to go in the trash so that it can be replaced in the future. But for now, I want to just gut everything out of here, make a pile of stuff that I want to keep in the bed. Stuff I don't want to keep can go right over there in the trash, and then I can get out the steamer and the shop vac and just go to town on this thing today. Alright, so I had to make a quick stop just because of some of the documents and things that I found. But I have a lot of the original owner's manual. Clearly the mice have gotten to that and lost some pages, but it's still really cool to see a lot of the stuff that was in this book here. But then more importantly, this has the consumer information for this particular truck with the VIN number printed there. And it says this one is not recommended for carrying slide-in campers, and it shows the GVW of 4,800 pounds. And it used to have a maximum cargo weight and everything written in right here that's long gone now. Luckily, my grandpa never used this for carrying slide-in campers. Just for carrying goats and rocks and anything else that could possibly fit into the truck bed. But no campers, so we're good there. But it also has these tags that have these serial numbers on them that look like they came with the truck, so that you could keep track of repairs and things when the vehicle is new. And it's got like the graphite paper on it with the tag on the back side. And these were never used, which I'm not surprised at all. Yeah, so there you go. See, there's the failure and what happened with failure. That's all really cool stuff. Then it also has the warranty card. You can see here with, no, it's got the PO box, okay. So it's got the old warranty card where Grandpa signed it there, Perry Calk Ranch, with his PO box address, and it's had the dealer sales code down here at the bottom, which is pretty well long gone. I know a lot of the things on here, but look, you can see it right there. June 20th, 1979 is when he bought this truck. So that's super cool to see information like that found still intact in this thing, even after it sat for so long. It is another day working on the F100, and today we're going to focus on the brakes. I'd like to get the brakes working today. So in order to do that, I have a new master cylinder, and this is a manual brakes truck, so manual brakes master cylinder. These are actually really cheap. That was nice. The Dorman part. I don't have the box anymore, I guess, but Dorman brakes. And then I got the Dorman rubber lines, the two fronts right there, a front left and a front right, and then a rear there. And then the only other thing I should have to worry about is the wheel cylinders and the rear drums, which are probably going to leak, but I'm going to get to that when I get to the shoes and hardware and everything. And so for now, I just want to get it to where it'll have enough brakes to where I can drive it out there, pressure wash the floor, let it dry in the sun on a sunny day. Today's kind of cloudy. And then once I do that, I can kind of wire wheel the floor and bedline all of this just to keep it nice. Now it's in a northern environment, I don't want this to start rusting. So I'll bedline the floor, I'll put down some sound ender mats, and then I'll put the little heat shield that goes right here back in it, because I actually have that. I pulled it out when I pulled the rubber liner out, so I'll put that back in there. But like I said, I need some brakes so I can move it out there and then drive it back into here. And honestly, just to test the transmission in general. So I'm going to get started with the master cylinder, and then we'll move on to the rubber lines. And since it's a Southern truck, it should all just come right apart. I'd excuse the angle because I still don't have a tripod. But let me show you what I'm talking about with this being a nice Southern truck. Even though these are brake lines, look at that. Not quite that loose. Nice and dry, that's good. They're not this nice up north, that's for sure. Up here, this seizes into oblivion, and you gotta replace the lines too. These hard lines are in great shape. Alright, new master is attached. I haven't put the brake lines on yet to remind me I need to bench bleed it before we do anything. But before I even mess with brake fluid and bleeding and all that, I'm moving on to these rubber lines. This one will also be pretty straightforward. Just the rubber line there and on the caliper. And it's a little dark in here. There we go. So there, and caliper back here, and that one should be pretty simple as well. So I'm just gonna get cracking on both of these fronts, and then I'll do the rear one underneath, and we'll get to bleeding. It's a new day on the F100 here in the shop, and I have been working it's been like a week now, off and on, to get this thing where I can pull it outside, clean out the floor, bedline it, and then park it off to the side so I can knock out another project that's really close to being out of here. With this being from a dry climate, I did not want to put this outside in the rain and get water in through what used to be the door seals and start rusting out the floor and et cetera, but I got my door seals today, so we're going to put them in and then continue working on the interior a little bit while I'm waiting for brake parts. So let me show you what I've got so far this week, and then we'll get started. So you've already seen I did the master cylinder and the front brake lines. With the new master cylinder, you actually have to get an adapter for the front brake line here. The factory on the Ford is a 1/2-20 thread, and the new master cylinder uses a 9/16/18, which is super annoying, but AutoZone sells an adapter for that specifically for brakes, so I bought me one of them. And then I started working on the rear here, and these drums have never been off, so they put up quite the fight. You can see I chipped it here. I dented it really good there with the air hammer, and you can see all the dimples all the way around. You can see the dark gray discoloration where I basically burned it off with the torch. It's cracked here and here and here, and there's a big crack down here. And on the other side, I actually knocked these weights off of it, beating them off. So they're finally off, and I can clean up the surface and everything before I put it back together. But when I was doing the rear rubber brake line, the steel brake line broke, and you can see it hanging down right there. That fitting was actually pretty rotten already from a previous brake line leak, and this line is not original to the truck. It's been patched before, so I actually am going to pull that off the patch panel, and I think I'm just going to make a full new brake line from the soft line mount, which is like up in here on the frame, all the way back up to the front, because I have a ton of copper brake lines that I can do that with, as long as I can flare it, because I am not very good at flaring. But I'm waiting for the brake parts for these shoes. You can see they are pretty well worn down, if for no other reason than they've been sandblasted over the years, but they're worn out pretty good, and it'd be dumb not to do everything in here while it's apart. So I've got all new drum brake hardware and everything. I've got new wheel cylinders coming, the brake shoes, and as soon as AutoZone delivers all that, which was supposed to be today but looked like it might be tomorrow, so that's on hold. So like I mentioned, we're moving on to the interior. I have some new door seals. As you can see, these ones are in fantastic condition. So I have new door seals to put on it I just got today. And then I have a new back for the gauge cluster, because apparently it's really common that these things just freaking explode. On top of that, mine had a mouse nest on it, which probably did not help at all. And that's part of why I've got the dash pulled apart, is I'm cleaning out all the nasty and mouse and everything, just getting all of the junk out of here. And then once I get the other project done and sold, I'm going to be completely redoing this interior. For about $1,500-ish, I'm going to reupholster the seat, bedline the floor, or clean it first, obviously. Bedline the floor, and then put sound deadener mat and then a carpet kit in here. This truck wasn't a factory carpet truck, it was a vinyl truck, but the carpet will be nice because this is not going to be a work truck anymore. New door cards, because these are as clean as I can get them. They're just sun-baked really bad. So new door cards, new armrest mats. Keeping these for now. I might get new ones just because everything else in here is going to be new. But keeping the handles for now. Getting new window cranks, especially that one. It's stripped out. New dash pad. That'll be really nice. But yeah, just totally refreshing the full interior, kind of while it's apart, while you're in there type of thing. And then I actually have an old CB radio that came from the ranch that I'm going to put in here. So that'll be really cool to have kind of a period correct CB. But while I'm refreshing all that, I'm going to pull the steering column out, I think, or at least down, so I can pull the dash panel out and repaint it, like scuff it down and repaint it really, really nice. So basically just going to go ham on the interior and replace all the seals everywhere and make it nice. So today, I'm going to have to scrape up what's left of this rubber mat that's glued down, get the rest of the door seals out, and let's get to work. I think that's going to be it for this video. We got the truck running, driving, stopping, the transmission engaging finally after 5 quarts of transmission fluid, and the interior cleaned out, and the floor starting to be rust proofed. So the next time I'm working on this, I think I'm going to be rebuilding the interior, like putting carpet in it, even though this truck didn't have carpet in it, but I'm going to put a carpet in it, some sound deadener before that, and I'm going to reupholster the seat because it's disgusting, and it's so saturated with mouse pee and poop and the smell of ranching. So we got to get that thing rebuilt so we can spend some time in there. And then after that, I got to move on to the fuel system because it needs a new fuel pump. That diaphragm in there is just not working. And then I got to clean out all the lines all the way and clean out the tank. So that'll be the next time I'm working on this. So if you want to see more of this truck, make sure you like, subscribe, stay tuned. And if you want to see any of the other projects that I have laying around here, then be sure to watch for the next one.